Dozens of the rich and famous accused of bribing their kids' way into college.
These are people that always say, we want diversity. We want the minorities to be involved. And now look what they're doing. Oh, let's just give millions and then pay for our kids to get into the school.
The FAA still stands behind their decision that there is no issue to ground the Boeing 737 MAX planes.
As a pilot, I know how diligent the FAA is. They do a very good job of what they do.
CNN hit with a $275 million lawsuit by the Covington Catholic student.
People want to see news organizations being held responsible if they knowingly push false information.
Elizabeth Warren walking a slippery slope. The 2020 presidential candidate blasting big tech firms that she took donations from.
Amazon, Facebook, Google. My view is break those things apart.
I appreciate the energy you show. Save it a little longer. I may need it in a few weeks.
This was actually in Varsity Blues, the movie, and Operation Varsity Blue is what caught a bunch of rich and famous.
Everyone's talking about it this morning.
Yeah, I saw some kids yesterday in the street in New York City, and I looked at them. I was wondering. I asked them, "Why are you so happy?" And they said, "Well, because Meatless Monday's over, and they were ever had meat yesterday, so that was good news."
It was Two Meat Tuesday,
right? Yeah, so they could double down on roast beef or any type of steakums because we know that our great mayor is going to save the planet one piece of beef at a time, and we owe him that.
It's creating a whole new black market in the schools for jerky.
That's good. And by the way, he's going to run for president. He's going to take, with the wind at his back on Meatless Mondays, he's going to walk right through the White House.
And I think that kind of platform, he will lose Iowa. Just saying.
I think so.
Just saying.
Yeah. All right, 2 minutes in.
And every southern state and every state in the heartland.
They polled to see how the mayor was doing, and everyone answered the same way. Who?
So here's the big news about Aunt Becky.
Right. Scandals of the rich and famous. Operation Varsity Blues exposing a nationwide college admissions scheme.
Actress Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, also known as Aunt Becky, among 33 parents have been charged. Loughlin expected to turn herself in later today, I believe in California.
All right, Todd Pyro joins us from the newsroom with the latest. Todd, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, this is almost as wild as Meatless Mondays, guys. Huffman already appearing in federal court, released on bond. The Desperate Housewives star allegedly met with a witness who said he could control an SAT testing center and arrange for someone to proctor her daughter's test and correct it. As for Loughlin, she and her fashion designer husband, Massimo Giannulli, are accused of paying $500,000 in bribes for their daughters to be crew recruits at USC, even though they never rode before. Here's one of those daughters talking about her college experience.
I don't know how much of school I'm going to attend, but I'm going to go in and talk to my deans and everyone and hope that I can try and balance it all. But I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know.
That's one approach. A total of 50 people, including 9 coaches and 1 high-ranking athletics administrator, indicted. Big-time schools targeted, including Georgetown, Yale, Stanford, University of Texas, USC, and UCLA. The man at the center, William Singer, pleading guilty to taking $25 million, using some of that for bribes and pocketing the rest.
Make no mistake, this is not a case where parents were acting in the best interests of their children. This is a case where they flaunted their wealth, sparing no expense, to cheat the system.
And we could just be scratching the surface on this. The feds adding the investigation continues. More people could be charged.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. You know, there are a lot of prominent Americans who do hire college coaches for their kids. You know, when they're in high school, the college coach will take a look at your transcript, say, you should get a tutor, you should do more community service, you should really work on your essay. Who knew that this particular college counselor, this Rick Singer, was described himself as a master coach in college counseling at an organization he referred to as the Key, and he was able to, it is alleged, pay off people to take tests for kids and then pretend that your kid is an elite athlete, get them on a team, that they would never play for.
But so there's so many things unique about this story and yet disturbing. And one of which is usually you focus on big-time revenue sports that are so tempting with gambling and other things to get the best players because it means the most money, like Duke basketball, Kentucky. I'm not saying there's scandals there, but that's where you look. In football, colleges, you see Rick Pitino got caught up in something last year. But now they have things like water polo. They have things like sailing are involved in
pole vaulting?
Yeah, pole vaulting. Yeah, that's track.
I read that one.
Just real quick, this senior associate athletic director at USC's athletic department was fired over $2.7 million in bribes to the tennis coach, which will label consulting fees. So this coach got a ton of money in order to make roster slots for kids that don't even play the sport, and they still were successful.
You know, you mentioned the fees. Apparently this guy set this, had a special almost charity designation with the way it is described. Apparently, not charity designation, but the parents were able to actually write off the money they were paying to get
Someone
their kids into college.
Someone gave $15,000 to him and said it was to a charity.
Yeah, the money was funneled through Singer's IRS-approved charity, the Key Foundation.
And then I read one parent paid more than $6 million to him. We have the affidavit here. It's very big. It's more than 200 pages. Yeah. If you want to read it, you can go online and look through it. It's unbelievable because what happened is these kids were taking the place in school of someone who actually deserved to be there and really worked hard for it. Well, and it's teaching, the parents are teaching their kids, you can lie, we'll pay for you, you don't have to do the hard work. Lori Loughlin's one of them. She's been on our show. She was Aunt Becky on Full House.
And by the way, in real life, she's very nice.
She's so nice. I was really disappointed when I read this. Now, granted, she hasn't been convicted of this yet, so this will all play out in the courts. But here she is when she was on the Today Show talking about her daughter going to college.
I think I'm in complete denial. Yeah? I really am, because when I think about it too much, it will make me cry. Really? So I got to stop.
She was told she's been indicted for giving a combined $500,000 to get her two daughters into the University of Southern California.
Right. Meanwhile, you've got another celebrity, Rob Lowe, taking a look at what happened, and he tweeted this out yesterday, where he is pictured with his son, and it simply reads, "Very proud of my honest, hardworking sons." He later deleted that. What does Lawrence Jones from Campus Reform make of this? Listen.
When you have fraudulent behavior like this that is trained in the next generation, that everything should just be given to them, that's a problem. We have a generation that is being coddled by their parents. They're going into college and they believe that everything should be given to them. Just imagine what's going to happen to these kids when they go into workforce. These are people that always say, we want diversity. We want the minorities to be involved. We want people that are poor and less fortunate to have the opportunity to go to these colleges. And now look what they're doing. Oh, let's just give millions and then pay for our kids to get into the school.
Okay, we asked you what you thought. We got a lot of response.
That's right. This is from Simone. All their kids should be kicked out and have to retest.
Oh, no, they absolutely have to be kicked out right away, just like the coaches had to be fired. James says we have created a sense of entitlement not only for our children, but for some adults.
And Dale tweeted this out. These Hollywood people want college diversity in front of everyone's kids, but theirs. Disgusting. Right now, it looks like the only way, if you're really rich, that you're going to be able to get your kids into college is to build a new science building for $100 million. Which is completely legal.
Yeah, that might be problematic.
Listen, if you're a parent out there, let your kid apply for college by themselves. Let them fill out the application. Let them line up the tutors and sign up for the classes. Maybe Latin, so you can learn the derivative of these words and do better on the language segments. Let your kids do the work. Let your kids apply for internships. These parents are getting way too involved in their kids' lives.
Well, and if you're a helicopter parent, the child's whole life.
How are they going to learn? How are they going to learn? You're sending them off to college, and they're not even prepared.
Just don't break the law. Meanwhile, you know, sometimes we show images of the First Lady at different events, going places. Over at The View, they have suggested, you know, they're looking at the internet. There is a conspiracy theory that's floating around that we're describing it as Melania Trump goes different places. That's not really her. Here's a little montage of that conspiracy theory on The View.
Fake Melania online conspiracy theory is back. That one does not look like her. Sorry. I wasn't going to go along with this, but that one in that picture doesn't look like her. It's a different shaped face.
Melania is a very tall, statuesque woman. And the one that we saw, the first one that we showed, she looks kind of short.
Let's have fun with Melania. She's beautiful, and we're doing this in jest. But does that
So if that's not Melania, where is she? And who is this body double? There is a whole thing online. It's hashtag fake Melania.
Yeah, well, Melania Trump's team, they ripped The View. They said it's shameful. Stephanie Grisham, she tweeted this out. She said the First Lady and the President traveled to Alabama to pay their respects and comfort victims of the tornado devastation. In typical fashion, The View chooses to laugh in the face of tragedy. Shameful.
Yeah, you could have some more comments. I just think it's pretty amazing that, of all these first ladies on all the covers of all the magazines, as far as I've ever been, from Nancy Reagan to Barbara Bush to obviously to Michelle Obama, this is the most one of the most beautiful women in the world, let alone ever to occupy the White House. You don't see her on any magazines at any time. They should be inventing magazines to put her on.
Well, maybe they don't think it's the real Melania.
No, that's true too.
Who knows?
You're right. One of the prettiest. She's so smart. She speaks so many different languages, and one of the most powerful women in our country.
And has worked as a fashion model, so you would think they would put her on a fashion magazine.
Good point.
Not so much.
Now let's go over to Jillian. Jillian, would you do me a favor? Would you do this update in English?
Yes, but Brian, if you just look straight ahead.
There you go. Sorry. In other words, I broke the illusion? Okay, I apologize.
You're just looking the wrong direction.
Couldn't you have told me that break so I look a little less awkward? It's unbelievable.
No, I couldn't actually. Okay, we do have some serious news to get to. So we start with this Fox News alert. The Wall Street Journal just reporting the pilot of the deadly Ethiopian Airlines flight reported having flight control problems before the crash. The Journal also reporting the plane's black box will be sent to Europe for analysis. This as the FAA declines to ground the Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes in the U.S. after 2 deadly crashes in months. Aviation expert Mike Bailey joined us earlier. He says he would not fly on the plane.
The FAA does a very good job what they do, and they strictly look at data and the facts. I would not fly on the airplane because we just don't know. We have 2 planes that crashed, and there's still uncertainty out there.
The FAA says there's no basis for grounding the planes, despite other countries doing so. 157 people died in the crash. Family and friends will say their final goodbyes today to a sheriff's deputy killed in the line of duty. Deputy Jacob Keltner was gunned down while trying to serve an arrest warrant at a hotel in Illinois. His accused killer, Floyd Brown, could face the death penalty. Hundreds showed up for the deputy's memorial service yesterday. A Texas roadhouse in the Illinois town also paying respects to the husband and father of 2, setting this fallen hero table. Today, Paul Manafort will be sentenced in his 2nd criminal case. President Trump's former campaign chairman is facing up to a decade behind bars on conspiracy charges. Last week, Manafort was sentenced to 4 years in prison for tax and bank fraud. Meanwhile, the president's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, is asking for another delay in his sentencing for lying to the FBI. And how about this? The football world stunned at
around companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google is now referred to by venture capitalists as the kill zone. So my view is break those things apart and we will have a much more competitive, robust market in America.
Really? Well, as Elizabeth Warren pushes to break up big tech, she apparently had no problem taking money from them. The 2020 hopeful reportedly taking at least $90,000 in donations from workers at those same firms she railed against yesterday, but did not mention the contributions.
Our next guest calling out the hypocrisy here. Stuart Varney is the host of Varney and Company on the Fox Business Network and joins us now. Stuart, why would she take their money, or why are they giving her money if she wants to break it up?
That's the question. Why are they giving $90,000 between 2010 and 2018? The answer is that the employees of Facebook, Google, and Amazon are heavily left-wing and support the politics of Elizabeth Warren, if not necessarily her intention to break up Facebook, Amazon, and Google. But I think that the $2,700 which she received from Sheryl Sandberg, number 2 at Facebook, and she got that money just in September. That was a lousy investment on the part of Sheryl Sandberg, wasn't it? Right. Because here you're giving money to a politician who wants to break up your company.
But the issue is somewhat going across party lines. I found it very interesting. Rupert Murdoch weighed in yesterday and says breaking up Google, not a bad idea. And Ted Cruz came out and said breaking up Facebook. I agree with Elizabeth Warren on that. So this is kind of an interesting issue, isn't it?
Well, look, there's 2 sides to this story. On the one side, you have these job creators, and that's what Facebook, Amazon, and Google are. They're platforms which allow the internetization, if I can use that word, of lots of other industries. Massive increases in efficiency and jobs outside those three companies. Now, if you break them up, you stop the flow of capital creating new jobs. The other side of the coin is, and this is my argument, they've got too much power over us as individuals. Facebook and Google know absolutely everything about you. Absolutely everything about you and another couple of billion people around the world. That power is dangerous. What will a future owner of Facebook or the runner of Facebook, what will they do with that power? The opportunity is there to cause grave political mischief. I mean, if you want to control a society, having information about every single individual, like they do in China, that's a dangerous situation.
Right, but she is not suggesting break them up and your privacy will be better saved. It's just, it's that popular thing to do right now. Just
look, if you fine them when they play fast and loose with your privacy, then fine them.
Stuart,
that's what you do.
Thank you, Stuart.
Watch Stuart on Fox Business Network, 9 to noon. Meanwhile, straight ahead, talk about messing with the wrong guy.
Trying to steal something? No. Huh? Get here. Come here.
What does Dr. Oz think about a man running after another man?
Dr. Oz is going to talk about... Order! Chaos in the UK after Parliament blocks Theresa May's Brexit deal for a second time.
Yep. Parliament will vote again today on whether the UK will finally leave the European Union and if they're going to do it without a deal or delay its exit entirely.
Benjamin Hall joins us live in London with more. Hey, Benjamin.
Yeah, hi, Brian, Stephen Ainsley. Well, yes, another embarrassing defeat for Theresa May, and one which effectively leaves her Brexit deal dead in the water. This does have major implications, though, not just for the UK, but also for the US and the relationship between the two. And today, as you point out, MPs will vote on what they want next. May suffered a loss of 149 votes last night, and it leaves the country now in chaos. After her defeat, she suggested the remaining options.
Does it want to hold a second referendum? Does it want to leave with a deal, but not this deal?
So those are the two options ahead on which they will now vote. One is that short delay of Brexit, try to get more concessions. The other, a no-deal Brexit, which would mean a clean break from the EU just 16 days from now with no arrangements in place. Some say that would be an economic disaster. Others, though, are cheering it. Supporters of a no-deal Brexit say it would bring the US and the UK ever closer, allowing a wide-ranging free trade deal between the two countries, which could offer low-tariff access to the British market, things like US liquid natural gas, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and so much more. At the moment, access to UK markets is controlled by EU regulations. That would all be moved to the side. President Trump has championed this kind of a deal, and later today we'll see whether Parliament goes for it. Back to you.
Benjamin Hall in London, thank you.
Thank you.
What a mess.
Meanwhile, switching gears, low-carb diets are very trendy this year. In fact, the keto diet was the most Googled diet of 2018.
But a new study sounding the alarm on diets like keto and Atkins and paleo, suggesting low-carb might actually be hazardous to your health.
And this is news to Dr. Oz. We brought him here. We didn't tell him why. No, I'm only kidding. You've been researching this. Are we going to survive the keto diet?
We are. Well, keto, paleo, these are the most searched diets on the internet. Yeah. We cover them on the show all the time. But it hasn't been studied well from a general health perspective. We know people lose weight, especially some folks. If your body looks like a square or a brick, then you tend to lose weight on these diets because it changes your internal hormones. But this important study from the American College of Cardiology, one of the first of its kind, looked at 13,000 people who were not in this irregular heartbeat called AFib. And it found that when you had less carbohydrates in your diet, you seem to have more atrial fibrillation. Let me just explain what that is. I have an animation real quickly showing you what the heart looks like when it's beating normally, and then we're going to transition to the AFib. And it's like, see, the left side is normal. The top part of the heart's beating and contracting. Oh, my goodness. It's like a fuel injector. On the right side, the heart's beating like a bag of worms. And the problem with that is the blood accumulates, forms clots, And atrial fibrillation, therefore, 5 times increases the chance of you having a stroke.
Oh, my
Because
goodness.
when there's clot in the heart, it throws it.
I don't think anybody knew about that. So many people have talked about the keto diet. If you're unfamiliar with it, we've got a chart that shows you the keto diet is about 20% protein, fish, grass-fed beef, beans, legumes, 75% healthy fats like avocados, coconut, stuff like that, and 5% carbs. It really limits the number of carbs. But Dr. Oz, you and I have talked about this. I was on the keto diet for a while, and I had a headache that would not ever go away. And then I wound up switching out of it.
Well, there are a lot of folks who have a little bit of a malaise around it. You get very irritable. People are not in a
What are you talking about?
What? You get it's not even hangry. You just can't deal with low insulin, low sugar levels. Your body needs more sugar. Part of the reason we go for comfort food is it makes us feel good.
Yeah.
When you have 0 of that stuff, you feel the opposite of good. And then the question becomes, well, is it okay long term? And because it's out there in such a big way, some people are beginning to look at it. This is fascinating because it begs the issue why. It's not just about being in a bad mood. What is it about super low carb diets that might be dangerous? And here's the deal. When you get rid of all your carbs, you often get rid of some of the produce. While produce is really important for your gut, it feeds the right bacteria. It actually creates a calmness in your intestines, reduces inflammation. When you replace the carbs with fatty foods, the lard, butter, right, the unhealthy fats,
a lot of ghee,
right, GHEE, then you end up with pro-inflammatory hormones and conditions. So inflammation leads to irregular heartbeats because it irritates the heart muscle. The muscle itself becomes swollen.
So what the diet should we go for?
I actually think the diets that your colleague in Norm, Steve, and I have talked about is the best one. It's called the Pegan diet. If it's the paleo, marries the vegan diet. So that means, A, you can be around other people because the biggest problem...
You
get to eat some meat. You can replace 1 of the 3 servings of vegetables with some meat so you can be sociable. Because the biggest problem with a good diet is you get lonely. Because your friends are having a great time. You can't. But the other thing is, that's much more closely mimics the Mediterranean diet. The diet that had the longest track record, thousands of years, people eating food that's relatively balanced, colorful fruits and vegetables. You can have healthy fats, the olive oils of the world. You can have some meat, but not too much, the Greek salads. And people just tend to live a long time with these kinds of diets.
And don't get Weight Watchers. Oprah is a friend of yours. You want to?
I actually love Weight Watchers, and I really do love what they're doing with WW, making it healthy and more about your broader life. But fundamentally, you have to find a diet that is balanced because your body will tell if you can't.
You mean fair and balanced?
Yes, fair and balanced.
Okay.
Such a good brand idea.
Thank you very much. All right,
Thanks,
Dr. Oz. We'll be watching you later today.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe Biden certainly sounds like he is running for president.
I appreciate the energy you showed when I got up here. Save it a little longer. I may need it in a few weeks.
But what are his chances? We're going to take a look.
And social media erupting with jokes after the arrest of Aunt Becky, actress Lori Loughlin. Carly Shimkus at the top trends from the big scandal, and she joins us coming up.
Hey, Carly. Hey, how are you?
Nothing like that.
Hey, scandals of the rich and famous. Operation Varsity Blues exposing a nationwide, sorry, I just ate some bacon, college admissions
She went
scheme.
keto.
Actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin among 33 parents that are charged in this scandal.
All right, they're accused of paying thousands of dollars to get their kids into elite schools. The FBI agent heading the case sounding off on the scandal.
This is a case where they flaunted their wealth, sparing no expense, to cheat the system so they could set their children up for success with the best education money could buy, literally.
So far, a total of 50 people, including coaches and administrators, indicted. Loughlin expected to turn herself in later today. Huffman appearing in court yesterday. FBI agents reportedly showing up to her L.A. home with their guns drawn. She was released on bond.
Yeah, was that necessary, by the way?
Right.
Well,
pretty sure she wasn't going to overpower anybody.
Let's bring in Carly Shimkus, Fox News Headlines 24/7 reporter. And Carly, obviously, the internet has its hair on fire.
It's going wild, man. This scandal is so brazen and ugly that social media, of course, what are they going to do? They're going to make jokes. Have you seen some of these memes out there? It's because we're dealing with two celebrities who are well known.
Full House.
One's known for Full House. She's got this squeaky clean reputation. The other one for Desperate Housewives. So let's start here. Somebody tweeted a scene from the movie The Fugitive and says, "Your fugitive's name is Aunt Becky. Go get her." Another, this is a Lori Loughlin meme. Aunt Becky, "Hey USC, meet my 2 daughters who are prized recruits. You should totally admit them." Oh, and that's a scene from Full House.
Oh, yeah.
They're dressed like girls. And then this meme of Felicity Huffman. are you asking for a bribe? You pretending you're above that? I'll get my checkbook.
Oh my God.
So a lot of, oh yeah, and then this one, you know, Felicity Huffman, she's married to the star of Shameless. Yeah, so a lot of people using that, you know, the name of the show, Shameless. And
he doesn't seem to be in trouble, though, right?
Yeah, that's right. So
he's named in the indictment. His name is
but
mentioned.
Lori Loughlin's husband was released on $1 million
He's certainly not charged.
bond. Yeah, yesterday.
They mentioned him. Apparently, he was heard in a recording.
It's just unbelievable. I know you have kids that are playing sports, and you're talking about parents photoshopping their child's face
into
on a stock photo
and
body.
Soccer, they don't even play.
And Lori Loughlin's daughter, she's very well known on social media.
That's right. She has about 2 million followers on YouTube. She's got a couple million Instagram followers, and she's facing a lot of backlash because she said on YouTube before she went to college that she's more interested in partying than going to class. Listen to this.
I don't know how much of school I'm going to attend, but I'm going to go in and talk to my deans and everyone and hope that I can try and balance it all. But I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know.
Well, as we all
well, she did apologize for that because a lot at the time people were criticizing her. And if you check out her Instagram, even though she said she didn't want to go to college, she's making a profit off of it because she partnered with Amazon Prime. And there's a photo of her in her dorm room saying that she's officially a college student and she got everything that she needed for her dorm room in just 2 days using Amazon at Prime Student.
Right. You know, she didn't know her parents were doing this. I feel sorry for her because she was so well loved on social media, and now people are writing the most negative things about her.
That's right. And apparently her two parents paid, what, $500,000 to get her and her sister on the crew team, even though they've never...
It is alleged.
Yeah, how you know, if I want, you know, that had to have come up. Yeah. And there's no way they can remain in the school.
It's tough because we're talking about all
of
these beautiful families, and you know there is an element of sympathy in a way because you know as a parent you want to do everything you can for your child, but breaking the law is obviously
taking it a step too far. Is this what fame does? Because imagine my parents would never. It's not something they would even.
Yeah, and really quickly, you do have to wonder why. You know, you got to wonder why there's so many kids that have this victim mentality. It's because you know some of these parents are propping them up that when they get to the real world, the littlest thing
can't handle it.
Set them off.
Right, like the littlest thing. If Jillian wasn't born in the streets, she would be upset because we should have been tossed into her 30 seconds ago, which she's used to.
Carly, you're taking my time.
Sorry, Jillian. It's unbelievable. Right. Carly, thank you very much.
Carly. All right, good morning. An ex-priest accused of sexual abuse is found shot dead inside his Nevada home. Police are investigating his death as a homicide. He was accused of abusing teens as far back as the 1970s when he worked in New Jersey. He was suspended from the priesthood in 1992 and just last month was named by church officials with nearly 200 others accused of abuse. He was found dead on Saturday. No arrests have been made. Talk about messing with the wrong guy. A former bounty hunter catches suspected package thieves at his home in Las Vegas.
Trying to steal something? No. Get here. Come here.
Whoa, Alex Mazzola pulling a gun on the suspects as they take off. Police arrested them about an hour later, finding several stolen packages in their stolen getaway car. Can't make that up. An Ohio student is suspended for posting Bible verses in her high school after LGBT flags were displayed in hallways. The student says she was accused of targeting the school's Gay Straight Alliance Club.
When I got sent to the office, he was talking to me and he said, "Why did you put these up here?" And I said, "Because I wanted to spread the word of God."
The principal says she violated the code of conduct because she didn't get permission to post the verses. Just when you think you've heard it all, this happens.
You are returning back to the gate?
Good luck, man. One passenger, she left her baby in the terminal.
Yeah, did you hear that? A pilot forced to turn the Malaysia-bound flight around when a mother forgets her baby at the terminal. The mother and child were reunited at the Saudi Arabian airport. How this even happens, though, remains a mystery.
Right, especially if you took
look
the
over here now.
Exactly, we get the wider shot here in Studio D. Especially if she took a car seat on the plane.
Yeah.
Okay, shouldn't there be somebody in that?
I do not understand.
I don't understand either.
All right.
Maybe there was alcohol involved or something. I mean, how do you forget your child?
I don't know.
How do you do that? All right, Jillian, thank you very much.
I had nothing to say. That would have been the perfect time to say it. But this time, I was able to look at you and everything.
I know. Brian, you were like, do I look? I'm confused.
I was afraid. I thought it was a big fake.
All right. Meanwhile, Janice Dean is tracking a monster storm across America's middle.
Yes, absolutely. Dallas-Fort Worth, a wind gust of 78 miles per hour. Hurricane-force wind gusts. This could be one of the strongest storms they have experienced across the Plain States. It's got everything associated with it. Blizzard conditions, heavy rainfall, severe storms, and again, wind gusts that could do tremendous damage. Starting to intensify over the next several hours. We call this bombogenesis. It could drop 24 millibars in 24 hours, and that, my friends, is a very strong storm. 70 million people in the path of this system. You can see those wind gusts winding up over the next 6 to 12 hours, crossing over the Great Lakes tomorrow. But look at the wind advisories, really from the southwest to Texas, all the way up towards the Ohio River Valley. So those winds are really going to start to crank throughout the afternoon hours. We have blizzard warnings for many states. So along with those 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, over a foot of snow, then the flooding potential and the severe storms, including the threat for tornadoes this afternoon. So we'll certainly keep you up to date. Steve, Ainsley, Brian, this is one we're going to have to track.
Back to you. No, you will. Thanks, Janice.
All right, meanwhile, 18 minutes before the top of the hour, Joe Biden certainly sounds like he's running for president.
I appreciate the energy you showed when I got up here. Save it a little longer. I may need it in a few weeks.
But what are his chances, I ask?
Plus, 5-time Grammy-winning singer and songwriter Stephen Curtis Chapman has a new album, and he joins us live to explain why this one is so different.
I appreciate the energy you showed when I got up here. Save it a little longer. I may need it in a few weeks.
Oh, we'll see about that. Joe Biden certainly sounds like he's running for president. He continues to be on top of the polls of 2020 Democratic candidates. And he's not even in the race.
But in a new Wall Street Journal op-ed, The Case for Joe Biden, our next guest argues that the former vice president might still not have a chance. Here to discuss is Fox News contributor and Wall Street Journal columnist and editorial board member Bill McGurn. Good morning to you,
Morning.
Bill. So why don't you think you do well? If every
well, I'm not sure. I'm saying actually on paper, I think he checks a lot of boxes because he has this blue collar Scranton kind of thing, and as he put in his book, his memoirs, he was strongest in the places where Mrs. Clinton was weakest, in these blue collar areas, in these key battleground states, you know, like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. So on paper, if he could get those voters, because there was a chunk of those voters, white working class, who voted for Obama but then went to Donald Trump. So, but some could argue that means his best shot was 2016 and Obama sabotaged him.
Right. You know what?
He did, right?
And Biden has run twice before for president, but this time it's just different. I know it was a couple of weeks ago, he referred to Mike Pence as a decent guy.
Right.
And left-wing elements in his party said, really? And then he caved.
Yeah.
Joe Biden said, you know what? I shouldn't have said he was a decent guy.
Yeah, that was Cynthia Nixon tweeted again, and he folded right away. That, I think, was a big mistake because I think what he needed, what the Democrats need, there's a leftward drift, and they're more to Hollywood and Wall Street and away from the kind of blue-collar roots that Joe Biden represents. And he prides himself as someone that can get along with people of the opposite party. If you read his eulogy for John McCain, it's really lovely.
It's beautiful.
But I think he needed a moment to stand up for that. In other words, if you're going to run on civility and decency, it requires some background. He should have said, I don't take it back. He's a decent guy. I disagree with everything he says, but we can call each other decent. I think that's a very telling lapse on his part.
It is, and also shows, too, there's a couple of things. The Obama people salted him away the last 4 years because he was a gaffe machine the first 4. And number 2 is there's something the Obama people know that they don't like about Joe Biden because they went out of their way to go recruit Beto O'Rourke, but I don't really see them running to his side. Do you think there's something they know that we don't about Joe Biden?
I don't think, I'm not sure that they have any dark secret. I actually find some of his gaffes endearing rather than off-putting. Makes him more more human. Look, he's the front runner in the polls. That's what's different this time. Again, in his memoir, it's really fascinating that when he was contemplating a run in 2016, President Obama had his pollster feeding him weekly diet of polls saying, you don't really have a chance. I mean, President Obama settled on Hillary, and they did everything to discourage him. And then he would have conversations like, you know what I'm looking forward to, Joe, is retiring and getting out of politics. And then he met with Mrs. Clinton, and Mrs. Clinton asked him directly, are you going to run, Joe? And he said, I don't know yet, but if I did, I'd run a clean campaign. And then she said, well, so would I. But I'm not sure about all my associates. You know? It's really fascinating. But that might have been his real moment in the last election.
Rosie O'Donnell tweeted out that he's too old.
Yeah. Well, he would be 78, I think. 8 years. Donald Trump is the oldest man inaugurated as president. He was inaugurated when he was 70. Right. Joe Biden would be 78.
We'll see what the party wants. Some people in the party want the extreme.
The difference in the last times, he's out in the front. And also, if you're Joe Biden, you look around and you say, what do they got that I don't got?
All right. He wrote the case for Joe Biden in the Wall Street Journal. Bill McGurn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead, the deep state revealed, ? New transcripts from what former FBI lawyer Lisa Page told Congress about Hillary Clinton, and it does not look good for the Obama Justice Department. Jason Chaffetz on that next hour.
Plus, five-time Grammy-winning singer and songwriter Stephen Curtis Chapman has a new album, and he joins us live to explain why this one is so different.
Now you walk over to us. Heritage in his newest album, brand new. Check it out, Deeper Roots, where the bluegrass grows with new songs, fan favorites, and special collaborations. And Stephen Curtis Chapman joins us now. Stephen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I love your story about how when you were a toddler, your family, your dad, opened a music store in Paducah, Kentucky, and because you were always there, you just figured out how to play all the instruments on the wall.
Yeah. My dad, Chapman Music, he's still there, Paducah. If you stop by and see him, tell him his son Steve sent you. He's almost 80 years old. He'll be 80 years old this June. And my dad's, biggest influence in my life musically, and my earliest memories are, as a little boy, are of music, and it's folk and bluegrass music, which is what my dad played when I was very young. And then we began singing in church together as a family, and gospel music and Christian music. Of course, people that know me know that that's what I've done all these years, primarily music that's inspired by my faith, but also my family. I was with you guys a couple of years ago talking about a book that I just released called Between Heaven and the Real World, where I got a chance to share kind of my life story and the mountains and the valleys, and you guys have shared a lot of those and let us share about our hope and our faith, my family and me on the show here, so I appreciate that always. But a couple of years of touring, that kind of talking about my story so much in my family has just, I keep talking about the music that earliest influenced me, and it was bluegrass and folk music. And and growing up in my dad's music store, learning to play, hey, I'm going to learn to play a banjo because there's one hanging there. And I could only play one song, but I'd play it and people go, wow, you're really good. And go, okay, got to go. And I'd hang it up real quick and say that, because I never told them that's all I knew.
How'd you decide a Christian venue?
Music from the very beginning for me, music was a way to just express the things that mattered most in my life. And when I was about 8 years old, and I tell about this in my book, and I talk about it on this tour a lot, it was really faith and my family together went to church. God began to really change my family in a pretty radical way. And so music became a big part of that, because my dad played folk and bluegrass and country music when I was a boy. And yet suddenly music about our faith became most important to us, and we started singing that together and all that. So.
And you know what? This morning, here about an hour from right now, Stephen is going to sing Where the Bluegrass Grows.
Sir.
It's from his brand new album, Deeper Roots. All right, Stephen.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
God bless you
guys. Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, Jay Leno has a message for late night hosts. Stop being so political.
It's all very serious. Everything is just so. I just like to see a bit of civility come back to it,
So what do you think? Your comments at the top of the hour.
Plus, Jason Chaffetz, Tammy Bruce, and Rachel Campos Duffy, they're all here live.